In this video, I'm going to show you how to give small pumpkins a big bite. Not every year you can get pumpkins as big as this for a good price. Some years they're much smaller. And what I'm going to do here is just show you how to make a really effective pumpkin with just a few small cheap items. So these are simple vampire teeth. So there's a bag of 12 here. I only need one per pumpkin. So these only cost £2 for 12. That's really good. So not much money at all. And because these are too small for candles, so they're not going to be safe for candles, but you might still want a glowing effect. If you don't need to bother with this. A glow stick or two. So this is just, again, a cheap glow stick. It will simply last 12 hours, some will last 24 hours. They don't last much longer than that, but it's plenty for Halloween. It'll give you light through the night, and you can be sure that your pumpkin on the windowsill is not going to be any risk or hazard to anyone. Okay, so I'm going to pick this small, medium-sized pumpkin here. You can actually do this with really small, these Munchkin pumpkins, but you don't really then get to make a face. You're just really making a mouth. Okay, I've selected my victim, my pumpkin, and I've gone through the teeth, and I've got myself one of the gnashes. As you can see, they've got a kind of springy plastic hinge. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit close on this, and when I say zoom in, I mean focus in. So what you can see is the shape of the teeth when they're closed. So sorry, this is my fingers. So we've got a slightly wider shape at the top. So you're going to want to have an angle that tapers from the top to the bottom and not very big at all. So broadly rectangular, and we can smooth things off in a bit as we go cutting, but we're going to start with a very simple shape and go from there. So tool for the job, trusty short knife. Now I'm going to pick what I think is a good area. Now you could also draw your starting point on your pumpkin if you wanted, or just like me, a bit of freehand. I always like to just see where the cutting takes me. So what I recommend you do is just very, very simple. And this is really just to get your knife in, because you can do more detailed cutting once you've got your knife in the pumpkin. So I'm just literally cutting a cube so I can actually get into my pumpkin. This is actually a little bit green, this pumpkin. It definitely would have been quite ripe. Certainly wouldn't have been a good one for eating, I don't think. And you get pumpkins like that some years. So I'm going to get that a little bit tidy, and literally based on this very small rectangle, I'm going to now start to wedge the shape until I get closer to the size I need. So as you can see, it's far too small at the moment, but you want to start small, that is definitely the tip, and go bigger. Now, one thing I will say to you, if you want to put a glow stick in the back, you've actually got, a glow stick in the pumpkin, you've got two chances here, because on the very back of this, you're going to need to hollow out a bit more of the pumpkin. And to do that, you need a much bigger round hole so you can get a great big spoon in, so you can scoop all the insides out. So you've got to decide whether you want to go that far or not, but that does mean if you are going for the glow stick option, that means you've got a second chance, because if I make a mess of this hole, make it too big, etc., or have a crazy cut, then I can just say, okay, I've ruined this one, I'll turn it around, start again. Okay, so you get two chances. So let's have a go, and let's see how I go with this one. So I'm going to try not to make a mistake, but if I do, I'm going to flip this around and come back to it. Okay, so we've nearly got the right kind of width. In fact, I should keep putting my knife down. I'm going to try to be a little bit safety conscious, because it's so easy when you're doing pumpkins. It's even if you're familiar with using knives, it's just not something you do all the time. And carving pumpkins, you're stabbing things, you're cutting things, you're trying to craft as well as cut, so you've got to be a little bit more wary. So it's not quite big enough, but as you can see, I can already get the teeth in there. Now that might be the look you're after, but I think I need it slightly wider, and I actually want it slightly taller this way, because I actually want the teeth to be a little bit more open. So I'm going to just work on widening this, little slithers and little slices, bit by bit by bit. It's really quite straightforward, it's very forgiving. Now, what you saw, the little Munchkin bitey pumpkin at the very front, at the very beginning of the video, is I actually also peeled and cut away some of the orange flesh of the pumpkin to give it a kind of mouth. Now that is absolutely up to you whether you want to do that or not. You don't have to. And again, I'm giving my my secrets away here. Again, it's also a good way of covering up any mistakes. So if you're not quite perfectly neat with your edging, as you'd like to be, you can peel away the orange cut marks by making it all look very deliberate. And that's one thing I love about pumpkin carving. I'm not into this kind of perfectionist style. I'm not an artist, and I just like to do my best. But I like to freehand design. Now, I certainly don't need any wire at the bottom, maybe a slightly wider at the top. And what I need to also do is to slightly V up the sides at the top to get that looking a little bit better. So we're nearly there. And then it's very much, again, up to you. You don't need to do a nose on a pumpkin like this. You don't need to do eyes. You can just use pins like I did on the first one I showed you, whether that be a drawing pin, a board tack pin, or a map pin, all kinds of things. You could even do blobs of blue tack. It doesn't really matter about what they are, because A, they're going to be mostly in the dark and the shadows, and or giving off their own eerie light. So I'm not going to hack away too much on the insides, but already you can see that we've got the basic shape of the mouth there. I can push the teeth up. Now, depending on the teeth, every pair of these vampire teeth you buy is going to be a little bit different. Now, this pumpkin, the flesh is really quite hard. It's really not quite that ripe. So I'm going to take away that top bit, because it was actually probably going to be too much for me to push the tooth in the plastic teeth into. Now, the other pumpkin I did, the pumpkin was much fresher, much softer, not so green. And actually, I could push these soft plastic teeth into the pumpkin flesh to get it to bite. So in effect, I could push that down into the pumpkin flesh to make it actually a lot neater. But as you can see, already we've got quite a nice little bitey mouth that need a little bit more tidying up. So my next best friend, of course, is a metal spoon. And I'm going to do a little bit of trimming around the mouth and shaping. And I'm going to zoom in, but we're very nearly done. Been trimming and scraping out a little bit from the inside, so I have actually carefully been running my knife inside. So this is a particularly tough pumpkin. Like I say, it's not the most ripe. And then using either a teaspoon or a larger spoon, just scraping out most insides. Now, I'm doing that really just so that you've got a nice kind of dark mouth behind the teeth, and so you want it clear enough just so that it looks hollow and it's dark. So this one isn't going to have a light inside. I'll show you that on the other pumpkin that I've already done. So I'm sticking with just this front mouth entrance and scooping out all the guts and brains of the pumpkin. Now, you could also use this, so if you get some nice long thready guts in your pattern, you might actually find that you can use that, as it were, coming out of the mouth. So I could easily thread this through the teeth, and then when I put the teeth back into the pumpkin, you get this kind of munching, vomiting, vile, nasty pumpkin eats pumpkin. So these could be piranha pumpkins, piranha and or zombie pumpkins, depending on whether you've got yourself a nice green mouldy pumpkin or not. So there's quite a lot of ideas you can do with these kind of teeth. Okay, I've actually put 2 sets of teeth in this one, so there's a bit of an alien-esque thing going on there. So it's a mouthful of teeth, and I've actually decided to start carving away some of this orange skin. Now, this pumpkin's got green underneath, so this is normally yellowy white. So what I'm just going to do is twist this around a little bit and show you how I'm doing it. So the top lip, I'm just doing a little moon, so it's just very tip of your knife. You've got to be really careful with this if you're not used to using a sharp knife, and sharp knives are safer than blunt knives, by the way. Then you really need to get someone to help do that. Now I'm going to try and make that midpoint. I've made that point a little bit too keen, so I'm going to just take it back a little bit. And that's the great thing about pumpkin carving. You can just keep correcting as you go. I know some people are absolute perfectionists, and they draw and they plan and spend a great deal of time. That's fantastic. But I don't think it should put anybody off having a go. I think everyone should have a go carving pumpkins, because it doesn't really matter what they look like. Nobody really looks at them close up like we're doing here. Yeah, we're doing a crazy amount of detail, close up zooms here, just so that you can actually have a good look and see how things are going. But as you can see, that's the top lip done. So now let's try to do another Joker corner mouth on the other side. So I'm going to just do a bit of a, again, if it's not completely symmetrical, I'm going to be okay with that. The top, I'm going to do a little bit more of a down and then a curve before I go back. And you can't really see the line I've done there until I start peeling away the top flesh. And you do want to really gently, if you're lucky, this will peel. Now this isn't going to peel because, like I say, this is a bit of an oddity, this pumpkin. Never had one green before. But these aren't for eating, so perfect for carving. So as you can see, we're just getting away the green to reveal the paler flesh underneath. And let's just finish that curve off that I started. So I've already got the lines there. Just need to free up the flesh, and hopefully this will just peel and clear out. There it goes. Okay, so maybe a little bit wider because I think the other side's more pronounced, and it is. So I think I need to take a little bit off the top if I'm going to make it wider. Let's do it the side that helps make it look symmetrical, give it some symmetry. So I'm not too bothered if it isn't perfectly symmetrical, but I will do my best, of course. So I think that's reasonably good. So it's a slightly weird, attractive, kind of smiling, happy, scary, wouldn't want to kiss it pumpkin monster. So I think we're going to put two great big eyes on there and see what he looks like face up and close up in the dark. I think that's the mouth done. I'm almost going to say it's a she. Now all I'm going to do is again pick some drawing pins and make the eyes. So I'm going to just turn it to face me and just to the left of the camera so I can get these eyes reasonably central and so that they're looking up at me. And it really does make a difference what colour eyes you use. Now obviously looking up where I am, that stands out quite nicely. You can also give it beady eyes, just like, and I've decided these two are married. So just like her husband, there's some green ones. I think that makes even a little bit more zombie-like. So there you have a really quite toothy, bitey pumpkin. Okay, so that's her done. Let's put her back there. I'm just going to bring in, I've decided, her husband. And I'm going to show you what I did on the back. So different kind of face. I did a nose on this one, just enough to allow some light through. And here's the back. So he's got a hole in his head and he's actually totally hollow. As you can see, I scooped out everything. And I did that so that I could pop in a glow stick. So with that in the back, when the light's off, he's going to glow quite merrily. Let's just get it so that they're looking at each other a little bit, having a little plan of their attack tonight. Literally attack. And let's just see how that looks in the dark. A scary sight, I'm sure you'll agree. Please feel free to like, subscribe and comment. I hope your pumpkins don't bite.